Good morning and a very warm welcome to Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And joining my colleague Bandula Jayasekara,
Good
morning, is Nalin Munasinghe, the National Program Manager for the Sri Lanka UN RED program. And our RED is reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation. Good morning, Nalin.
Good morning, Faraz.
A bit of a mouthful, the name, that UN RED program. What is it that you all do?
Let me first, talk about the four letters again.
Yes,
UN, obviously we all know UN, United Nations. So it is the United Nations program to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from deforestation and forest degradation.
Right.
An effort we are trying to, reduce greenhouse gas emissions in this country to work with the government. That's the program.
That's what it does.
Yeah.
And how important is this?
I think, nationally, it is important for all of us.
Right.
It is the call of everybody in this country, giving the leadership by the government.
Right.
That's how I understand as a UN RED program.
This program is rather indebted to you this morning because we've been let down by the Conservator General of Forests in Sri Lanka, who, for want of a better word, chickened out this morning, having wanted to come on the program himself.
Yeah, and then we had spoken to him even before Urdu, and then last night we were informed that he is unable to come, and then Nalin stepped in.
Nalin is very brave and very kind to have done that. Thank you, Nalin, because it takes a lot of planning to get somebody here, and it's not very nice when we are
especially when you're a government servant.
Yeah. Now that you're here, and Forrest, perhaps you can put me out of my misery. Can you tell me what all this business was in Wilpattu with Minister Rishad Baradin being accused of clearing up forests and so on?
Yeah.
What exactly? Can you tell us the real story?
Oh, okay. First of all, if you don't mind, let me also speak a few words about the link between this Conservator General of Forest and this program.
But
since it came up with,
if you could answer the question first and then.
Oh, right, yeah, because it's very important for me to. Okay, fine. My personal view is that we have heard, we have seen seen several times, again and again in all the media, all the stations, media stations, that this deforestation or forest destruction has been taken place in this Wilpattu area, which you have seen anyway, aerial views, ground views. So it's very clear that we saw that forest has been cut.
Right.
So it's clear.
Yeah.
But then the question thereafter, for what purpose and how, etc., which I'm not in a position to even talk much, since we don't know exactly, because that's not coming under directly my work.
Ask you this.
Sorry?
Now I want to ask you this. Now we all know, because we've got the evidence, there's aerial shots, that thing. People have been there, so we know that that's not a myth, that it has been cleared. Now I want to ask you, on what basis? What is the legal basis? If Bandula and I want to go and clear up a couple of acres each at Wilpattu, because we want to retire there, if we want to, can we just go along and clear 2 acres and take it?
No.
So there's a process.
Yeah, exactly. In this country, we have a forest law. We have a forest. We have forest policies, and obviously the government has a forestry sector master plan on how to basically manage the existing forest, how to improve the forest cover. So with all these things only we all work together.
Yeah, but you said you have photographs, aerial views, but what
which we have seen in the media.
But exactly. What are you doing about it?
One thing I can say here, development and protection of environment. We need to talk about it. Development means not only building structures, building roads. It's more than that again. Even townships, the requirements of the general public is all come under development, infrastructure development.
So what can happen? What can be done now that this Minister Rishad is being held responsible for clearing up the forest and for perhaps trying to house some of his people there?
And also add to what Faraz said, that you said now Faraz and I, we can't go and clear, we can't clear,
yes.
But he can.
But he can. The minister can.
I won't say anybody can do that. Nobody can do that. because we all are human beings in this country, and we are citizens of this country, and if forest is owned by everybody, therefore it is the duty of protecting the forest is a duty of everybody. I think it's my personal opinion that nobody can violate these rules if it has happened.
But your
it's very
program,
important.
Nalin, is supposed to protect this. The UN
Our program is
intervenes
basically supporting the government to come up with a national strategy
to protect.
to protect, basically,
forest.
yeah, even partly, protecting the forest, but directly to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, through the deforestation and the forest degradation.
Right.
Obviously, yes, this entire national strategy is to protect the forest cover and the environment thereon. Yes.
For us, unlike during the war time, the UN seems. I don't think the UN can intervene in this. There's a problem the UN is facing.
I see. But it sounds as though this minister would be more at home in a country sort of like Saudi Arabia, where there's probably no forest there, because clearly he's just going and clearing things that he's acting like a little president, isn't he? Even the last president didn't do things like this.
The same thing, and he.
Perhaps we ought to invite Minister Rishad Badruddin on our program.
I think that's
and ask him to face the nation.
Can you arrange that for us, Nalin? I'm sure you can help.
I don't think that I can do that at this moment, since I think it's a government, government's work, government's responsibility, and they undertake this. I might not
So
be
that
able
means
to
they can do
personally
anything and
undertake.
escape.
No.
But we
No,
can't go and.
How does the UN react when all of a sudden you see this great piece of area of forest being deforested?
Actually, United Nations, as I even just mentioned earlier, like we work under international frameworks, international standards, then we'll come down to the local level, and we try to see how the local context could be, basically matched with the international standards, so that, because reducing deforestation, forest degradation directly support reducing the global warming. So just one country cannot simply do that. It has to be the whole, world which needs to support.
You are still not answering the question clearly, Nalin.
You asked me, how we look at it, what is our reaction?
Yeah, what
our
do you
reaction,
do?
obviously,
Is there a financial penalty, and you say, well, you've done that, so the UN is not going to give X, Y, Z? Is there such a thing?
Oh, we are not doing it. We are not, I personally don't, know about it, basically, like, to see
But how
whether we
can
can take
you
an
work
action.
with the Conservator General of Forest, Nalin, if you don't know this?
No, it's like this. We work under the, standards, common standards, and we work under the United Nations framework on climate change.
Right.
There are a lot of provisions to work in. Our duty is to basically to work with the government and to raise these issues, to to find solutions together with the government, to come up with national level strategies and action plans by bringing all stakeholders on board.
Who in the government do you deal with? Who does UN deal with?
In this program, we are directly dealing with the Forest Department, we are dealing with the Wildlife Department, Climate Change Secretariat under the Ministry of Environment.
Right. So you all don't really have any clout to penalize or to incentivize the government to not go and cut down more forests.
Yeah, I think at this moment I represent the UN RED program, and where we are trying to find some of the solutions to this entire problem, entire issue, and this is why I just said that we are working with all the concerned government departments, agencies, and the ministries right now.
Right.
Yeah. So we are trying to get this national strategy out by end of this year, and it will be open for the general public as well.
But you're talking of strategies, Nalin, but nothing is. The problem is out there. Clearing of forest also Sinhalaj. Some big developers are trying to be hotels.
What's happening? About 3 years ago, I went to off Martelay. What's that? What do you call it? The Knuckles.
Knuckles range.
Yes. Now I went there on a little investigative piece because my editor then was Shakuntala Pereira from one of these national papers. Sent me off there to go and find out. And there we had, in this absolutely splendid forest, right up there. I think he was then the Air Force commander. He was a serving Air Force commander, and he had built himself a house in the middle of nowhere, but against the regulations. We created a big stink about it.
Yeah, I remember that.
But nothing happened. That house is still standing. Indeed, there are lots of other motels and so on that have come up now, and we did film the building of some sort of hotel there. But the point I'm trying to make is, are there enough rules here to prevent these sort of things happening? Is there a commitment, in your experience, when you're dealing with the government, is there a commitment on the part of the government to adhere to these environmental friendly policies?
I think the existing forest law and the forest policies do cover all these areas. So, but at the same time, with the development, this deforestation and also maybe they are on the forest degradation. These things happen, so we need to strike a balance between this development and the forest protection. Now, recently we did a study. This is a very interesting study here. We found the drivers of deforestation and forest degradation in this country, and one of the key drivers was basically this large, mega scale development projects, and at the same time, say commercial agricultural ventures and encroachments. There are reasons for this. You cannot simply, stop development.
So there's a reason for this, the former Air Force commander building a house.
I won't say that, but I'm saying there's a big, demand for land. Therefore, automatically, when you don't have lands available freely, people start, encroaching very important areas, the hot spots. We say biodiversity wise, they are really important for us. Now, this is why we need to have a very clear land use plan, which we have, but we need to see how to strike between, forest lands and other, it is really important. So, currently, we believe this National RED Plus strategy, REDD Plus, reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, but this plus signs adds 3 more things, where you try to conserve existing forests and enhance forest carbon stocks, at the same time sustainably managing the existing forest. Now, all together, this plan will give us some solution in order to understand how to strike the balance
between. People are not interested in talk shops and strategies and seminars. People are looking at practical things.
Exactly. Now, but anyway, you should have some way. You should have a way to do that. Then you need to talk about it. Now, when you have a plan, everybody should be aware of it.
Let's take a short break and come back and discuss the way forward. Do stay tuned to Newsline. We'll be right back.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Good morning and welcome back to Newsline, where we are joined by Nalin Munasinghe, the Sri Lanka manager, the national manager for the Sri Lanka UN RED program, helping limit deforestation. What can we do then? Can all these Air Force commanders and all these other big shots, hot shots, wannabe hot shots, can Bandula and I join them? Can we go and clear some land up in Knuckles?
No, for us, you can't go to Wilpattu. For us, we can't go to Wilpattu, we can't go to Knuckles. But others can. There's a big
Rishad Badruddin can.
We can't retire.
What do you... really, let's not be so flippant about this. What can the UN do to incentivize the Sri Lankan government to adhere to these very eco-friendly policies, which you say that the world needs?
Yeah. As a member of the UN family, as a member of the UN, Sri Lanka is we are very closely working with the Sri Lankan government. We always address the government requests, government requirements, which are really important for the general public of this country. That's the first thing I need to put in. Forest destruction, obviously, if it is a problem, it is a problem, obviously. But even in Sri Lanka, it is a problem. There is a role that UN can always play, and this RED+ strategy development is one. We will forget that part for the time being. So you take the environment as a whole, like protecting environment is everybody's duty. If you take the school child, if you take the school level, starting from there, we need to educate them. We need to make awareness, and people should feel really why we need to protect forests, what a tree can give us, what are the benefits really you get it. If that happens at that level, it goes up to the highest position of the country.
But Nalin,
then, give me one more minute. Then, if that has happened properly, all the people that you were naming, right, starting from even say His Excellency the President, he has a vision for this country to protect environment. We believe that it is really important and it could be put into practice. But he himself alone cannot do this. It has to be the role of everybody. So we plan for development, if we plan for construction, if we plan for township development, we have to have a clear policy, we have to have a clear law, we have to have a clear strategy, which we all have.
What's happening in Udavatta-Kale, Kandy?
Udavatta-Kale is being protected, that's what we all know. Right?
But we had a viewer for us calling and saying that he could see buildings through Tannekumbura. There's encroachment and there are buildings coming up in Udavatta-Kale.
I can agree partly on that because the term encroachment. As I told you earlier, through that even study we have found, when there is a huge demand for land and it is not available or it is not made available, right, properly, so obviously this, these encroachments could take place. Even in Kandy, around, say Udavatta-Kale, we see a lot of, building, but not within, around. But I exactly don't know up to what extent it has been encroached or not, which we need to know, because I personally know that what Udavatta-Kale, the jungle, can do for Kandy city.
This is where Tarzan the Ape Man was filmed. Go direct in some time ago, and this became world famous. But you all should do something to stop this. Can't the UN intervene?
We can always create the stage for we are impartial and we are neutral, so we can always create the stage for people to come and argue. Say from one end, civil society can bring these issues up. From the other end, government can come on board. Maybe we all can work together. We can listen to them. We can come up with a way to address these issues. At the end of the day, government and the general public, at the end of the day, it has to be working together.
But what about those fat salaries the UN officials can you do something to that?
I want to ask you this, Nalin. In terms of global warming and so on, all the gases that we produce, like from Chole and so on and so forth, collectively, does Sri Lanka's output make even a dent in the world figure?
It's like this. It's a good question.
When China and the US are doing so much disregarding, really, so does our output matter?
We are a small country. It's true. We are a small country when you compare with many other countries, right? So when you talk about the forest cover, again, the forest that we have in terms of the world is small. But in Sri Lanka, we have quite a big forest cover right now. Since we have small, so that the deforestation also will be small and the emissions also will be small. But then when it comes to development, like these power plants, coal power plants, these are all solutions for the development. So this is where we need to know the facts and figures clearly. Now when you come up with such development modalities, we really need to know how much it would sort of cause the damage to the environment and how to offset it.
Isn't this
if we can have them. If we have them, obviously, then we can plan better. So this is how other countries plan.
Yes, but can I put it another way then? Isn't this adherence to these eco policies and global warming and carbon and all this business, isn't it a rich man's toy? And we are a poor country, we're an emerging economy, and do we have, can we afford to pay attention to all these things? Is there some government going to give us we need, I mean, we've just gone to the IMF, we're trying to get $3 billion. That's not enough. We need to get another 3 billion, say 6 billion, which, by the way, is the same amount of money but that we could have collected in taxes from the money that has been spirited out of the country illegally. But that's another story. So, are there any programs where the Sri Lankan government is given aid that is linked to its environmental performance?
Right. Let me start with the first part that you asked.
Yeah.
It's a common question. Right. Are we trying to protect environment for the benefit of somebody else, so-called rich man?
Yeah.
Okay. Some of the countries have already been developed, so they have done the destruction, so that now they want us to protect our environment, our forest, for the benefit of others. That's the common question that you asked him.
Yeah.
Maybe my answer, whether it's right or wrong, at least we need to make sure our generations, our next generations have an environment to enjoy. Therefore, the protecting the forest, protecting environment is the duty of all of us for the benefit of the future generations. Second question, right? We can incentivize. Obviously, for an example, like under the UN FCCC framework or the UN climate change framework, we all try to see whether we can protect our environment, we can have more trees, standing trees, and to see whether we can absorb more carbon, right? And there are countries in the world who are ready to pay for it. I mean, I don't want to call it as a business, but it is maybe a benefit.
But it is a business. You
It
don't want to
is.
call it a business, but it is
That's what I said. I don't want to put it as a business so that people start growing trees to get money. No, the first idea is to get the non-carbon benefits for us. Now, while you do that, you will get more benefits from other countries. That's secondary. Because if you put that first, obviously, there will be a lot of problems in the future, so that, even sometimes, you might lose existing forests, which is not the right way to think. So, to answer your second part of the question, yes, there are, and even the RED Plus strategy in its third phase, this RED Plus strategy development and its implementation is a 3-phase strategy. In the first phase, we are helping the government, supporting the government to come up with this RED Plus strategy. In the second phase, we would implement it and see how it works. In the third stage, we would see how to share the benefits. And that's the answer to you, sir.
Right. Now, Nalin, in the past, we had President Rajapaksa's government built the Hambantota port and Matala airport. It caused an enormous outcry, people complaining about the environment and so on. But internationally, under international aviation rules, we needed another airport. We're an island nation, so all that business. Now, this Prime Minister, our dear Prime Minister, has announced the building of airport in Haputale. What kind of likely environmental impact is it going to be there?
I think, question is clear, answer is also clear. Like, if you don't plan properly, if you don't come up with, alternative, solutions for the say damage if it incurs, right, for the damage that we are going to make in that kind of a development, there will be a lot of impact to the environment. Haputale, close to Nuwara, down there, like, very nice area, like, biodiversity-wise very rich, and at the same time we could say the hilly areas where water bodies, water sources, initiates that. So we all need to understand that is being fully looked after, and we have rules like, this is what is called environment impact assessments. These studies, these, assessments have to be very clearly done, but it doesn't mean that we will not do that. But let's do it.
But sometimes these EIAs are used for political expediency, as we saw in the Colombo Port City project, where they said there was nothing, then they made a big song and dance about it. So I think we're coming to the end. Can I ask you this? Is the environmental concern as a big wide project, is it merely a tool that politicians use when and if they want to, for their benefit, for political expediency, as opposed to making a real impact on a global scale. We are, after all, a small country. Can we make a difference?
I mean, we all know everything starts from the scratch, right? From the small level. Even a river, it becomes a bigger river, but it starts in a small stream. So this is again, even though Sri Lanka is a small country, we can do a lot of things, and we can be an example, role model to the other countries all the time. EIA is an important tool which we all need to adhere to, because it is enforced by the government. It is enforced by the people all within this country. All have agreed that is important. So it's the development partners, including all government, others, private sector, everybody's duty to adhere to these such tools and policies and see whether how best we understand the destructions, the damages, the causes, impacts. And we can come up with some alternatives before we start implementing them. These are available, these provisions are there in this. And it is not to stop, but this is to put it in the right, sustainable and the more long-term, beneficial way. So I think if we all follow them, the problems will be very less. It's high time, if we have not followed yet, for us to follow all these important rules and regulations, policies and laws that are already established, already prepared in this country. This country has all these things. Let's enforce them better. That's what we need.
One final question. Sri Lanka's forest reserves, now you say, is about the coverage is about 29%
Yes.
of our land mass.
Yes.
At independence, it was about 44%. So over the last 69, 70 years, 15% has been encroached upon. Also helped by Richard Badruddin and his activities. But is that a good figure? Is it very bad news? 15% over in 70 years? Is that bad? How do we compare?
Yeah, I mean, it's a judgmental thing, at the same time comparative thing. When you compare with some other countries, we are very much better. But some other countries, like countries like Bhutan, where they always maintain a forest cover over 70%. And in a recent speech by His Excellency the Prime Minister of Bhutan, if possible, you just listen to his nice words.
Wonderful. We've unfortunately run out of time. And so, Nalin Munasinghe, thank you for your presence.
Yep. Thank you very much for us.
We would like to welcome you on another program, another day, another time. Bandula, thank you very much.
Thanks for us.
Thank you for watching Newsline. It's been a pleasure talking to Nalin Munasinghe. Take care and God bless.
Newsfirst.